Hey, it's Benjie Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Giovanni Calvarese. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, Forgotten America, The Untold Adventures of Venezuela. Available for purchase through Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble and People. Listen, Gio was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business, okay? Parchment Global Publishing. So if you or anybody you know have a book that they'd like moved, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact Parchment to move it for you. You can find out more information on them and their fantastic team at parchmentglobalpublishing.com. People, we're not shying away from it. We're talking about one individual community, but it has stark resemblances to so many others. Gio is the expert. He's written the book. He's done the research. He's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. But sit back, strap in, have your notebooks ready. The education you're going to receive is amazing. And by the time we're done with today's interview, I promise you people, you're going to run to his Amazon and Barnes & Noble page and pick up copies of the book because it's that important. All right. Giovanni, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction. Thank you very much for being a guest with us today. How are you doing?
Well, thank you for having me, Benjie Cole. I appreciate the time and just happy to be here.
Absolutely. Listen, man, what you're doing is profound. What you're doing is needed. What you're doing is something that, at the end of the day, it's about representation, right? And it's a beautiful thing. So much of my background, of course, influences the way that I think. And I think what you're embarking upon here is profound. I'm going to hold off. I've given so many reflections already. I got to remind myself, Benji, this is not about you. Okay. So what I'm going to say right now, Gio, is welcome to the network. It's an honor, and we're truly looking forward to this. Now, before we go into your book, I want to learn a little bit more about yourself and your background, man. So please tell our listening audience a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I go by Gio. If you were to call me Giovanni in my home, either I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, or one of my siblings were mad at me for some other reason. But either name is fine with me. Actually, I'm a trained educator, and I got into this profession to, one, understand what has been happening and how our students are taught, but also eventually working in the field, working with our students, working with within our communities. I learned how we could change it, how we could make it better. And as a literacy teacher, I thought this was so important because literacy is not just embedded in our lives, but also it's an important skill that we often might today take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But that's who I am. I'm a literacy educator, and got into the field to understand it, but also to make a difference. And through writing is one of them.
Absolutely. Well, Gio, couple of things, man. First and foremost, as a former educator myself, and I had a very brief stint in education. I only taught for about 4 years, but I have a lot of educator friends and family members. So let me be the first person to tell you here on our network, thank you very much for all of the work that you've done in education in whatever manifestation that was. If you were a teacher, anybody that's in that world understands that, hey, you may be assigned to teach social studies, or you may be assigned to teach algebra, whatever the subject matter is. But listen, educators have to wear a number of hats, because in addition to that subject, you may need to be a therapist, you may need to be a friend, you may need to be a referee. I mean, the list goes on. And educators never receive the amount of praise that they deserve for the work that they put in. And they damn sure don't get paid enough for the amount of work that they put in. So thank you, first and foremost, for all of the work that you've done growing, shaping, and developing the minds of future generations, man, because it truly is an invaluable service, and you don't get enough credit for that. So, A, thank you. B, Gio, listen, man, I'm not going to address you as Giovanni ever again in this interview. I didn't want to bring up any PTSD. All right? I mean,
no,
we'll stick with Gio. No,
I feel like Giovanni is very formal, and I'm more of a informal kind of guy too.
There you have it.
But just throw that caveat out there for you.
There you have it. No, I just added some levity to it, man. But listen, Gio, I appreciate everything that you've said. I appreciate everything that you've done. Again, nothing but continued success. And at the end of the day, today's interview is all about Forgotten America, the untold adventures of Venezuela. So without further ado, Gio, tell us a little bit more about it.
Sure, absolutely. So when we first grapple with the book itself, we're wondering, what am I talking about? And we further understand essentially two characters, one being Carlos and two being Ezekiel. And Carlos tells a broken story from events that he is reminded of. And one important event that we see in the story is how he was forced into the military to become a soldier. And we see a time in which that started to change him. And then we learned through meeting his friend Ezekiel how he started to change, to understand what he had done as a soldier necessarily wasn't a good thing. So those two stories interrelate with one another and explores some of the adventures that they, one, go through in the past, and two, the adventures that they go through in the future. So I wanted to get inside the characters' minds and tell it from their perspective and some of the adventures that they were having.
Mm-hmm. Gio, what inspired you to write this book?
So I always wanted to write, but at the time I didn't know how to begin. So I thought if I could make an impact, that's something what I wanted to do. That's what mattered. And the idea for the book actually came from a group of Venezuelan students I had the opportunity to teach English to. And through our conversations and through my learning of their culture, their perspectives, I said, man, there's some relationship here to what is going on. And they asked me if I could do anything to help to, let the world know that this is one of many situations and places that are in fact forgotten. So I said, yeah, let me see what I can do. So I had the opportunity to travel to Venezuela quite a few times to learn about what really is happening and write a book from the perspective of the people there that live these realities. And that's what kind of inspired me, those students, and just going there and learning about what the situation that has been happening.
Mm-hmm. Great segue that you've established. I want to talk about that research. Now, we know about the students, and we know about you actually traveling to Venezuela. So in addition to those two aspects, how much research did you do for the book?
It was quite a lot. It happened through a a period of about 3 years. And every year I took the opportunity to travel there. And it ended up being between 2 to 4 weeks in length of those tours. But while I was there, not only I was a participant observer looking at things, but also experiencing the day-to-day life of the people. You know, for example, while I was there, much of the day there isn't any hot water, or any running water at all. And in the place where I was on Margarita, I think about 12 hours a day, there's no running water. So, you know, everyone has to get to places. So at times I had to take a cold shower, just running buckets of water over myself. And frankly, that's what many people did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Gio, taking a step away from the book and really focusing more on you and your writing process, what is your process like? And curiosity, are you a plotter or more of a pantser?
A great question. I like to take a hybrid approach in my writing. So I like to first formulate an idea about a character or about a situation, and then write a rough outline. And whatever point that is in my head, I just go with it. I just start going with that idea, that thought, and expanding on that. So I like to take that hybrid approach to writing. I think being a writer, you have to be flexible and allow the situations and characters to develop, and then go back and try to reorganize things if you're that type of planner.
There you have it. And going from your head and your thoughts and how things go, let's go to your characters' minds now. How do you, in your process, what do you do to get inside your character's head?
So I think of them as real people, and looking at and pretending to be them, to create these experiences to a degree, live those experiences, or even think about this experience goes with this character. For example, when we read about one of the main characters, Carlos, he represents kind of like this dichotomous figure of humanity, both the light and dark side. So I like to also create complex characters, because I believe people within themselves can be complex. And like Carlos, he attempts to understand how much of his past influences his present.
Again, we're here on the line with Giovanni Calvarese. We're discussing his amazing book, Forgotten America, The Untold Adventures of Venezuela, available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. Gio, next question that I want to go into, and again, thank you for everything that you've relayed so far, and sticking with you as a writer. What risks would you say that you take with your writing?
That's another great question. The risk is I like to not only think outside of the creative box, but also dismantling the box itself, and really exploring the minds of the characters I write about from their perspectives. And you will see throughout the book, not to give too much of away, that every other chapter is going to either talk about the present or the past event. But insofar, they're connected to one another. So my writing in itself is contemporary, but also dismantling those bridges of traditional writing and trying to be more creative with it to understand how stories are really told. And I think stories are told not always in a linear way, but also kind of in a broken way, in a way.
Gio, let's get real creative here, okay? Let's really step outside the box. If you could spend one day with another popular author, either past, present, it doesn't matter. If you could spend one day with another popular author, whom would you choose, man?
I have a lot of ideas of what authors I would like to spend my day with if I had the opportunity. But one author comes to mind is James Dashner, who wrote the Maze Runner series. And the reason why I would is to understand his perspective of how he created this dystopian place, this dystopian community, and understand how he goes about writing, and because I think much of what I'm trying to write about is a dystopian historic place, but also there's some truth to dystopias that at times can be alarming. And I think his series, the Maze Runner series, does that. It makes us question. And so, I would probably spend one of my days or the day with him.
Gio, last question here, man. Do you see your writing as kind of a spiritual or therapeutic process?
Actually, both. I find it to be a cathartic process to write. When I write to learn and explore different topics that people might find fascinating and would be curious to explore. Take, for example, Carlos and the setting in which the book is taken into account, which is a historic dystopian place, where paradoxically the military is seen as guardians, but at the same time, the military is protecting the government and the government's agenda of kind of control, and you'll read more about that. And that's one aspect that Carlos experiences. And I learned, how people were affected by certain government policies when I was in Venezuela, and explore today how those types of situations might also affect us.
People, if this interview hasn't moved you, pinch yourself. Okay, I don't know what's going on. The most amazing thing, I think really where the power lies with Gio's book, is just about raising awareness. At the end of the day, it's your decision, right? You make your call on whether you believe these things. And again, it's just a historical fiction book that we're talking about here. We're talking about one community of people. But I promise you, you start to look around, when you raise your awareness, you'll see that it's not just that community that had these circumstances done to them. This is a fantastic book for you to have on your shelf, an even better gift to put on someone else's. The education is real. Amazon, Barnes & Noble are the way you have to go. Forgotten America is the title you have to pick up. And Giovanni Calvarese is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. Let's grow, let's develop, let's educate ourselves, and it starts with this amazing narrative. Gio, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Such an honor. I truly mean that. Nothing but continued success for you and all of your loved ones and all of your future endeavors. And thank you again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
No, thank you, Benjie. It was really nice to have spoken with you.